Welcome to day 2 of Animal Diversity Vertebrates. In the last video, yesterday we talked about the intro, looked at some key terms in the discussion of vertebrates, and we also talked about fish and amphibians. Today we're going to talk about reptiles and birds, so let's get to it. First of all, we're going to talk about reptiles. Reptiles are ectothermic vertebrates. What does it mean that if they're ectothermic? That's right. They cannot regulate their temperature internally. Their temperature is determined by their environment. Now, reptiles actually are much more efficient, have a much more efficient metabolism than endothermic organisms do. They just don't do as well over a wide variety of environments. For instance, they don't do well in colder environments because of the cold, they can't move as well. They can't move at all if it's too cold. So they have to warm up first. So we typically find them in much warmer climates. But because they don't have to maintain their internal energy, they're not wasting energy trying to stay warm. And so anything that they eat go into other living processes, such as growing or even movement, and it allows them a much better chance to catch their prey and also to grow larger. That's why reptiles will continue to grow throughout their entire lifespan. Other organisms, they reach a certain point, especially endothermic organisms, will reach a certain point and they stop growing. Even humans, we reach a point and we stop growing. Reptiles don't do that because their metabolism is much more efficient and they continue to grow. So they're ectothermic. They have lungs. They breathe air. Although some of them may be aquatic, such as iguanas can be aquatic. You'll notice that they typically are close to water and they will dive into the water to escape danger. They swim quite well, both on the surface and below the surface. They can hold their breath for quite some time because of that metabolism, because of the way that they're designed. They also have a scaly skin. That scaly skin will provide protection. And that skin, as well as their kidneys, allow them to conserve water, so they can live farther distances from water and on less water than other organisms can. Also, they reproduce through eggs. And their eggs are designed to conserve water as well. So even an organism like an alligator, a reptile like an alligator that lives in the water, they can lay their eggs on the land, and during that incubation period, the point from when the eggs are laid and the eggs hatch, that's that incubation period, that point in time, they don't need more water because the egg is designed to retain what liquid is in the egg. Now, kidneys are organs that filter waste from the blood. They will filter the blood and they will remove waste. It will be excreted as urine. The kidneys of reptiles are designed to be very efficient in filtering that so that they can use the least amount of water in the urine to release those, to remove those salts and other wastes that are in the blood. Some reptiles, like iguanas and certain other ones, will remove salts, for instance, through their eyes. Some of them, they'll get a salt crust in the corners of their eyes. That is the way in which they remove salts from their blood. They have internal fertilization, meaning that the eggs that the eggs are fertilized on the inside of the female organism, female animal, female reptile. Then they'll lay eggs. They're amniotic eggs, or eggs with a shell and internal membranes that keep the embryo moist. If you've not seen a reptile egg, you've most likely seen a bird egg. Bird and reptile eggs are very similar in their structure, and the fact that they have a hard shell. Some reptiles do have a softer shell. They're a little more membrane-like, usually thicker, but they're still designed to retain the moisture and pull in oxygen through the shell. So it's a semi-permeable membrane, meaning it allows oxygen to come in. They do lay their eggs on land. All reptiles do. They are not. These eggs are not aquatic. They won't lay them in the ocean or in a pond or stream. They will lay them on land. Some reptiles will protect their eggs. Some do not. There are three major groups. Lizards and snakes are very similar, so we tend to kind of classify them together. Lizards and snakes are reptiles that have skin covered with overlapping scales. These scales are protective. Lizards and snakes are not slimy. They can be shiny, depending on the type of scales that they have, but those scales are there to protect them. You can see the lizard here. This is more of a common type of lizard that you would see, and a snake here. You have both venomous and non-venomous lizards and snakes. They're not poisonous. Poison is ingested. Venom is injected. So anything that would bite you, and you would be harmed by it, that bite, other than infection setting in, that would be a venomous reptile. Snakes are venomous. You can eat them, even the venomous ones. You can kill them and eat them. I never have, but I know people that have eaten rattlesnake and so forth. So they're not poisonous. You can consume them without danger to yourself. But they are, many of them are venomous. The second major group is alligators and crocodiles. The difference between an alligator and a crocodile: this is an alligator here. It's got a rounded snout. And this is a crocodile that has a pointed snout. Now, if you are being chased by either one, it doesn't matter what it is, just get away, because whether it's an alligator or a crocodile, it can bite large parts of your body off, and that would make it difficult for you to live. Now, the big difference between lizards and alligators is, of course, their size at adulthood. The fact that alligators and crocodiles spend much of their life in or around the water, all of their life in or around the water. They will come out of the water to sun themselves. That is to heat up their body. They'll spend nights usually in the water. They can sleep in the water. They can sleep underwater. They can hold their breath for quite some time. And alligators and crocodiles do care for their young for a short period of time. Then there comes a point where they are on their own, but they will spend some time caring for their young. Mostly during the egg stage, in the early portion of their life after hatching, alligators and crocodiles will help their young down to the water after they hatch. They'll break open the nest to dig them out and help them get down to the water after they hatch. After that point, the young are pretty much on their own. So that's the big difference between alligators, crocodiles, and lizards. The last type of major group of reptiles is turtles. I like turtles. Turtles are a reptile. They're as well. Their body is different in that their backbone and their rib cage is enlarged. and it forms a shell above and below. The shell is then connected and protects the internal organs of the turtle. That shell is part of their body. It's not like a marine organism, like a clam, that the shell is not, that the organism is living inside the shell. A turtle, the shell is part of the turtle. If you pull the shell off of the turtle, you're essentially ripping the body of the turtle apart. So that is part of their body. So if their shell is damaged, you have their body has been damaged. So that the top shell is their backbone. Birds are endothermic vertebrates that have feathers and four-chambered hearts. Reptiles also have a four-chambered heart. Birds also lay eggs. They do have some adaptations for flight, meaning that God has created them differently for flight. And each bird, if you look at their wings are different. Their skeleton will be different. Birds have hollow bones. That makes them much lighter. They're still pretty strong, but they're hollow. They eat a very high energy diet that allows for them to convert a lot of that food into energy for flight. They have a large, efficient heart and lungs, as well as air sacs. All of those air sacs help to make their body lighter and more efficient in getting oxygen into the bloodstream, so that they can get that oxygen to the muscles for flight. Their wings are shaped depending on what type of flying they're doing. If you notice, like vultures and eagles, the condor type birds, they have much larger wings because they do a lot of soaring. They basically ride thermal currents, heat currents coming up from the ground. You've got other birds that flap a lot. Birds like your hummingbird will flap very quickly. And depending upon the type of flight they do, it depends on the shape of their wing as well as their feathers. Two types of feathers that birds have. They have contour feathers. These are the feathers that you most likely see. These are the ones on the surface that you see. They give this streamlined shape and color. Typically, these are used for flight or for the protection of the bird, covering of the bird. Then you have down feathers. Down feathers are the insulating feathers. They're a lot softer and fluffier, and they are underneath the contour feathers. This is what keeps the bird warm. Now, the contour feathers usually will have an oil on them that the bird puts on there by rubbing it across some points on their body that secrete these oils, and that gives the contour feathers a waterproofing that keeps the water off the down feathers. That way the down feather can just maintain the heat of the bird. Birds are also adapted for living in diverse environments. The shape of their legs. Some birds have very small legs for grasping, sitting on branches. Some of them have long legs for running, like an ostrich. Also goes with the shape of their claws. Some of them have claws that are shaped for grasping branches. Some of them for running. Some of them for living in shallow water, like a flamingo walking through shallow water. Some of them have web feet, like ducks, for swimming. And the beak, the shape of the beak, the bill of the bird has to do with what they eat as well. Some beaks are better for eating seeds. Some are better for eating insects, digging food out of the mud, or like a flamingo. So God created them differently in order to live in different environments. Unfortunately, we've reached the end of our 15 minutes. If you have questions about this, definitely do some research online, find some videos on YouTube. But you guys have a great day, and remember, I love you guys. Bye.